Hello there, YouTubers. This is Gus Estacio from Healing X Outreach, and 7:17 in the morning here on the East Coast. I'm about to go to work, day before 4th of July. Last night, my daughter posted two of our old podcasts, Matthew and Grace Goff, who is no longer with us. Grace Goff was a long time active ex-witness in the ministry. I think her ministry was New Life Ministries. She was one of the old original pioneers in the XJW movement, going back to the days of Setner, Bill Setner and Walter Martin, and she has since gone home to be with the Lord, but a blessed woman. I think she was living in the in Canada. She had kind of a British accent, or I guess it might have been a Canadian accent. But I know you guys are now starting to enjoy her video. Go ahead and listen to Grace Goff. It's a great memory to have of her, and she was just a wonderful woman. The other one is Matthew, who came out of the UK, and yeah, I know we mentioned his channel, but he doesn't have his channel up anymore, and he is really engaged in his church there in the United Kingdom. He is deeply involved in that, and I don't think that he's doing anything that's related to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses anymore, him and his wife. But I think it's great to hear experiences from people that have come out of Bethel, whether it's Bethel in the United Kingdom or Bethel at Brooklyn Bethel, or now even Warwick. Be nice to get some ex-Bethelites from Warwick, but he at the time he had a great channel, and I really loved some of the things that he said. So I'm gonna have a little message today to talk about a little bit about what is it that Jehovah's Witnesses absolutely do not want you to do. And so, as my old friend David Harris Jr., subscribe to his channel if you're into politics. Come and take a ride with me. And I'm getting out of my driveway right now as we speak. And I'm going to share with you a few things of the experience that I've had coming out of the cult. I'm a third generation ex-Jehovah's Witness, as you all know. My wife and I, we had a Kingdom Hall wedding. We were both devout. We were devout Jehovah's Witnesses. And we have two children. I have a 10-year-old boy named Ethan, and my daughter, her name is Amber. She's 17 and going to go to college next year. And neither of them know what it's like to be raised in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Thank God for that. They've enjoyed a wonderful, wonderful life outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they both have embraced the Christian faith, unforced, just basically through the influence of their parents, basically seeing that what Christianity has done in our lives and ask questions about it, and I think it was last year in April, they got baptized. And I go to a Southern Baptist church. Now, I'm not, I'm a member of a Southern Baptist church, but theologically, I'm more Anglican than anything else. So they were actually baptized as infants. My daughter was baptized in the Evangelical Free Church, which Evangelical Free Churches tend not to be actually Credo Baptist, or which is that they do just exclusively adult baptism. They tend to not be Paedo Baptist, that is. But I happened to go to a Evangelical Free Church where I knew the pastor well. We were good friends. I met him through the Countercult ministry, and his name was Tony, Pastor Tony. We became very good friends. I actually went and served at the church there, and I became one of the elders at his church. And Tony baptized my daughter, and he actually convinced me to the doctrine of infant baptism. And so through Tony, I learned a lot of things. Tony was a great mentor of mine, but even though I adopted the doctrine of infant baptism, had my son baptized in the Lutheran church that I served as pastoral assistant in, which was later on because I went from the Free Church to the LCMS Lutheran Church, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod branch of Lutheran Churches, which is a conservative church and conservative denomination. And when I went there, my son got baptized, and then they started growing up, and there's a whole lot of history about what happened in those churches. But we go to this Southern Baptist church, and I'm not one who make big deals out of minor differences, and so I do go to this church. There are a few things I disagree with, but I love it there. I love the people there. I love the pastor there, and that's the great thing about Christianity, is that you don't have to agree on everything, not on every jot and tittle, and you can be a part of a church and enjoy a church, even though you may disagree with some small differences. And I'm not there to try to sway anybody's opinion. I'm not there to sway the opinion of the people in that church. I respect the teaching of that pastor and what he teaches. And I would never, ever say or try to teach anything in that church that would go counter to what he has been doing, the foundation he has laid, because it's not something that we should divide on. So, that being said, that's just a little tidbit of what Christianity really is all about. And I know for many ex-witnesses and who still think like Jehovah's Witnesses, we believe that, the Christianity is so divided and this and that. And there's all the 10,000 denominations and growing and all these different churches. And really there's a difference between uniformity and unity, but that's another topic I'll go into one day and discuss. Right now, I want to talk. Whoa, that was my magnet. I want to talk a little bit about what is it that Jehovah's Witnesses really, really hate, and it stems from a conversation I had with another ex-JW on my channel, and I have a lot of respect. I have friends who are atheists. I have friends who are atheists that are not anti-theists. I have friends who are atheists. What binds us together as friends is maybe our political persuasion. So I have very conservative political atheists, and even though we differ on whether God exists or if God even cares about us, they may be agnostic to manifest himself to us, we agree politically, and we believe in freedom of speech because we're conservatives, and political conservatives absolutely believe in the freedom of speech. I have had many, many different political opinions since leaving the Watchtower, and so it's really, and I've also evolved as a Christian. But I will tell you this: the one thing that Jehovah's Witnesses, including the Watchtower Society, that is the elitists, the governing body, absolutely the worst thing you could ever do is not be a cart crasher. That's not the worst thing you could do. They actually expect apostates to crash carts. So that actually fits their narrative. And that doesn't mean cart crashing is not a good thing to do. I actually love to watch cart crash videos. I think that we need to engage Jehovah's Witnesses, the common Jehovah's Witnesses, elders, the laity, the groundwork people, and also Kingdom Hall crashes. No, that's not the worst thing you can do to Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, Jehovah's Witnesses, yes, they there's no doubt they get upset when ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are now invading their carts and their halls and shouting in the middle of a service and about pedophiles or about the Australian Royal Commission. But that's the kind of stuff that they expect from ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. That's what they expect of us mentally diseased people. But the absolute worst thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses, who have been fed this narrative that they are the truth. You know, we have this thing, TTAT, you know, the truth about the truth. They really believe they have the truth. They really believe also, where will you go? Religiously speaking, where will you go if you decide to leave Jehovah's organization? I mean, they are the cream of the crop. They are the shiznit. They are the real deal. So, I mean, come on. You're going to go to churches? And that goes back to my last video about the religion is a snare and a racket mantra of the Jehovah's Witnesses, which many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses still buy into. And it's because, you know, I will say the reason why we're seeing a proclivity of ex-JW channels now starting to say repeat religion is a snare and a racket is that the proclivity of social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the formats that iTunes, but YouTube especially has now given ex-Jehovah's Witnesses a platform straight out of the witnesses. So a lot of us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who have YouTube channels have not had the time to work out the details. We have gone straight from the cult into exiting the cult, and we're still working things out. We're still finding out all the deceptions of the cult. Hold on, I'm going to give me some water. And we're still, have a lot of the cult mentality in us, and we may not want to admit it. We may not even realize it. But we believe a lot of the things that the cult taught us, and out of every cult, and I've studied many cults, the Jehovah's Witnesses are the cult that I say fits the narrative of atheism wrapped in religion. Atheism wrapped in religion. That's what the Witnesses really, to me, if you were to pick a religious cult that is the closest to atheism, it would be the Witnesses. And there's several reasons for that. One of the reasons for that is that as a cult, it is probably the most vehemently anti-Christian cult. You know, religion is a snare and a racket. We are God's organization. They are Babylon the Great. Christendom. They are in darkness. We are in light. We are the light bearers. I remember going to Light Bearers Convention. That was one of the titles of our assemblies. So this whole idea of we have the truth and everybody else out there are the devil, and then going into the holidays, that proves that they are not God's organization, because they celebrate Christmas and these holidays are pagan, and they go into this whole entire form of revisionism, which is promoted by some Christians, mostly fundamentalists that believe in a paganized Christianity. And then so they have this anti-Christian, really heavily anti-Christian message. And some of us exit the cult, and we still believe some of those things. We still believe that organized religion is wrong. And it's funny because that's what they teach, even though they are an organized religion. Or at least that's what Russell taught. We still believe that religion is a snare and a racket. We believe some of the hype the witnesses say. The witnesses talk about the churches being greedy for money. That's why we have contribution boxes and don't pass a plate around. We're not into politics, politically neutral. All of this stuff is all into a narrative which many of us still buy into and still repeat the mantra of our former cultic selves. The witnesses are annihilationists. They believe that when you're dead, you're dead. That's a very atheistic expression of death, not even a really religious expression, because the belief of an afterlife is not just Christianity. There's belief in afterlife in other religions also. So this idea that we're dead and when we're dead, we're dead is something what we would say empirical atheism would actually acknowledge. Atheists actually do not believe in afterlife. They believe that when we're dead because they don't believe in a soul or a spirit. And so we can see the foundations for a skepticism or an atheistic form of skepticism amongst those who would exit the witnesses, still stuck in some of the mentality of the witnesses, stuck in some of the historic revisionism of the witnesses, believing in the history that the witnesses have promoted, the history about the Crusades or the history about holidays, and not actually knowing what actual history teaches about these things and what actual history teaches about Christianity. Another thing, the Jehovah's Witnesses teach that Constantine, Emperor Constantine, tampered with Christianity and swayed the Council of Nicaea to the doctrine of the Trinity and its three-headed God. And so many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses really actually repeat that type of history, which is not true. Constantine actually was semi-Arian. He did not like the doctrine of the Trinity, but ironically, Constantine was a lot more neutral to what Christianity taught than some of us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. He actually allowed more of a freedom of speech, until, of course, some people tried to usurp his authority as far as state functions, and so then he acted with his bias. So the worst thing you could become as an ex-Jehovah's Witness is not a car crasher. It's not a Kingdom Hall crasher. It's not an atheist. It's not an agnostic, but it's to be a Christian. And I'm going to tell you why. And I've been out of the cult for now 20 years, 21 years. And it's funny when you come across Jehovah's Witnesses, and I've had Jehovah's Witnesses I come across, they can't believe that I actually believe in Christianity as it exists, or as they believe, as they have taught it to me. You don't really believe in Christendom. You don't really believe that stuff in the churches. Come on, really? Come on. You know the truth. You know Christmas is wrong. You know, you know the truth. You know they don't teach God's name. You should know. Once you've been a witness, you can't possibly believe what the churches teach. You know that God is not a Trinity. Jesus is God's son. He's an angel. You know Jesus is Michael. You can't possibly believe that Jesus is God Almighty. And of course, they'll misrepresent it. You think, how can you believe that Jesus is Jehovah? Jesus is the Father. And so they'll confuse the Trinity with modalism. So, but and we know that because their literature also tells us that's the worst thing you could ever do. Going back to the days of Russell, They say, some of us have taught that by simple Bible reading, you can come to know God. And by their simple Bible reading, in 2 or 3 years, they have gone back to darkness, into the teachings of Christendom. All the way back to Russell's days, we have seen that kind of rhetoric. The worst thing you could ever do is to read the Bible alone and not actually glean from the interpretation of the faithful and discreet slave, the governing body. So the worst thing you can do is to actually believe in a religious truth outside of their religion. That is the worst thing you can do. And it's so bad that they can't believe it when you say, yes, I am at spiritual peace in what I believe, in the church that I attend. I am absolutely at peace in my life with God. And I love Yahweh. I love Jehovah. I love Jesus. You can't possibly love Jesus and love Jehovah and love God and outside of their spiritual paradise. Come on, this is Jehovah's happy people. So if you have left Jehovah's happy people, you've got to be miserable. I remember when I was a Jehovah's Witness, it was literally you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't mentality. If you left the witnesses and you prospered, see, look at Sister so-and-so. She left the truth, and Satan the devil is protecting her, So you prospered because and if you prospered, no doubt the devil has protected you. But if you're doing terrible, if you're doing awful, see, look at Sister so-and-so. She wouldn't have these problems if she stayed a witness, because she would have the protection of Jehovah. And so, once again, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness who prospers, or an ex-Jehovah's Witness who has a tough time. And you're going to have either of those, even as Jehovah's Witnesses. I've known a lot of witnesses that are having a tough time in the organization, and that organization has no charity towards its own, and it's really sad. In fact, we were having a rough time when me and my wife were married, and that was probably one of the seeds that also helped me get pushed towards Christianity, was the uncharitableness of the organization. So yeah, that's my message for today, is that the worst thing you could do is become a Christian, to believe in the dark teachings of Christendom, to actually believe there is a spiritual oasis outside of the so-called spiritual paradise. And that doesn't denigrate or belie the value of Kingdom Hall crashers or cart crashers. Like I said, I like watching so many of these, and I haven't partaken in any as of yet. Maybe one day I will. But and some people have said, "Oh, what if somebody did that to a Baptist church?" When you get upset, well, yeah, because first of all, Baptist churches are autonomous, and they don't, overtly try to protect pedophiles, and we actually are taught to turn in child abusers into the authorities. But I do see a sense of why there should be some trepidation, because in many cases, the cart crashers and the Kingdom Hall crashers are skeptics. And even though they are letting out their frustrations or their message, because some of them are frustrations, but their message is good. And I like those that really treat their messages like a PSA. I really love Zeb's Kingdom Hall Crashes, because when he began giving a public service announcement. He was giving information that they could look up on their own, and I think that approach has been the best. Some Kingdom Hall Crashers don't do that. They don't treat their crash as a public service announcement. They let out some frustrations, and I can understand why that happens. And once again, it's because so many of us have not really healed and have since quickly come out of the cult, or have been out of the cult only maybe a couple months, and now have participated in that kind of an activism that is, in your face and tough to do. But look at that. The road is really messing with me right now. So, the fact is that I can understand that. And I think that some of us have participated in activism and need a couple of years to heal, a couple of years to find ourselves and figure out who we are. And but the temptation to confront our oppressors, to confront the ones that have victimized us, is a little strong. So in either case, what you're doing, I really do value. I think it's valuable not only for the Jehovah's Witnesses to hear your message, and hopefully it'll reach some of them, but it's value for the public to see what you're doing, because then they realize that the Jehovah's Witnesses are not just another religion. There's something really, really wrong with Jehovah's Witnesses, and they need to do some investigation and find out why we call them a cult. So, that being said, God bless you all. And I know that you guys right now have posted up, we've got 2 videos up, so, I'm going to get to answering those comments soon. And I'm glad that you're enjoying some of these. These are all from our old archives. We air every Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Healing X Outreach, just Google us. We're at blogtalkradio.com/Healing X Outreach. This Saturday, we're doing a retelecast, and I think it's going to be Richard Kelly. And Richard Kelly has written a couple books. I think it's Growing Up in Mama's Club and Ghosts from Mama's Club. And it was through Richard Kelly that some of you guys have already seen Maruka Rofik, former Bethel worker, and her story I have posted up here on YouTube. And she's one of the stories in his books. So we're going to have Richard Kelly, that you'll get to hear his story. And I'm going to be posting that up on YouTube soon, and a couple other things. There's a lot more than just Jehovah's Witnesses we deal with on Healing X Outreach. We deal with all kinds of cults and debates on theology. So check out the debates that we posted. If you're not really interested in it, I understand. But we dealt with some of the prejudices we have about Catholicism. That's one of the Jehovah's Witness prejudices. And I'm not a Catholic, but I've learned not to be so religiously biased and be a little bit ecumenical. I do have some issues with Catholicism, but you'll see a couple of things posted on that. We had a debate. We were supposed to have a debate this Saturday, and me and Catholic William Albrich and a listener of mine who's a Unitarian Universalist got into a really good conversation in replace of the debate, and I'll be posting that up soon. So God bless you all. Have a happy 4th of July. Let's honor the country that gives us the freedom to speak, the freedom to protest, yes, even Kingdom Halls and carts, and the fragile freedoms that we have that have come at the great cost of shed blood of so many of our nation's military. So honor our military men. Whenever you see them, let them know. If you see a man in military uniform, let them know, I thank you for your service to our country. I do it every opportunity I can. Believe me, they appreciate it. God bless. Bye-bye.